In churches up and down the land, Climate Sunday has been marked in different ways, and all churches are invited to do so before September, when there will be a big nations gathering, or not gathering, but service in Glasgow on the theme of climate change, all in preparation for the United Nations conference in November that is being hosted by this country in Glasgow. The partner country in hosting is Italy, you may be amused to hear. I'm very grateful to junior church leaders and members sharing in worship this morning. How are we going to better care for our planet, better play our part within that incredible complexity of creation? How will we be humbler in our relationship to God's creation? Well, in the book of Genesis, in the first chapter, there's this wonderful vision of God creating the world in 6 days. A picture of the enormity of God's work. And each day is not a day in our terminology, our calendar, but it reflects that breadth of vision. But then in chapter 2, the creation story is told in a much more intimate, small way. And it's of a garden created by God with human beings placed within it to care for it. And we're going to hear that story now, and Linda is to read it to us.
The reading is taken from Genesis chapter 2, verses 8 to 15, reading from the Good News Bible. Then the Lord God planted a garden in Eden in the east, and there he put man he had formed. He made all kinds of beautiful trees grow there and produce good fruit. In the middle of the garden stood the tree which gives life, and the tree that gives knowledge of what is good and what is bad. A stream flowed in Eden and watered the garden. Beyond Eden, it divided into 4 rivers. The first river is the Pishon, which flowed round the country of Havilah. Pure gold is found there, and also rare perfume and precious stones. The second river is the Gihon, and it flows into the country of Cush. The third river is the Tigris, and it flows east of Assyria. And the fourth river is the Euphrates. Then the Lord God placed the man in the Garden of Eden to cultivate it and to guard it. This is the word of the Lord.
Over this last year, people have valued their gardens, or if they've not had a garden, then their houseplants, all the more than ever before. It's been a connection with the world of nature, and it's given some perspective when the world has felt a very uncertain and frightening place. The garden, whether your own garden or a garden that you visit, can be a place of refreshment, of enjoyment, of relaxation, of simply being. And it's no surprise that the garden is the picture that the Bible gives of our relationship to the planet, or one of the pictures, a precious picture. It's a wonderful garden with trees, and haven't we all sort of gloried in the wonder of a tree, a great oak tree or a fruit tree? it has a river. And aren't the rivers of our world so important in the life of our planet? And where those rivers are being polluted, then we are in real difficulty. And the garden has resources, precious stones and gold and rare perfumes. And we need to think about our use of the precious resources that our world has today. But I want to bring you back to this picture of the garden. Think of a garden. Maybe if you have a garden, your own, or maybe a garden that you have visited. Gardens are not like wild places. They are cultivated. We have a very strong relationship with that piece of soil. But that relationship can be good or perhaps distorted. We could just trash it. We could just dump anything that we have not used in the garden, an old fridge or the rubbish, the pollution, the old cans, the rubbish tip. We could just trash the garden. Or perhaps we could control it, but use the worst of chemicals to get rid of all those nasty pests, get rid of all the different kinds of weeds that bring in pollinating bees, and control it so much in nice rows. That image of the man with his sprayer killing everything and anything, trying to control nature. We've discovered that there are real problems in doing that. We've tried to do it too long, and we've got to learn the third way of actually working with nature. Working with nature may mean a few untidy corners at times in the garden, but letting a little bit of wildness in, letting in those predators that then eat some of the other baddies, or our idea of pests and diseases. Working with nature. Think of the garden. Will you trash it? Will you try to control it at the cost of nature? Or will you work with nature for the best? The Lord God placed the human in the garden to cultivate it and guard it. This planet is to be cultivated, yes, but guarded, treasured. And perhaps finally with the garden, remember who the garden belongs to. It's not our garden. It is God's garden that we've been placed within. Placed within to care for, but also to enjoy. Every gardener goes into the garden and sees a job to be done. But sometimes we have to sit and simply enjoy the place, God's garden. Well, this is our responsibility, to cultivate and to guard the planet. One of the ways that we respond on this Climate Sunday is being aware of the damage that we've done. And we're going to hear a song that speaks of that and asks for God's mercy.